My fellow Americans, let me tell you a story. 2.5 years ago, I had some sheep, and I had a dog, an Anatolian, named Nelly, female. And Nelly's job was to protect the sheep. And I was out rucking one morning, and I had had many wild feral dogs attack my flock, destroy my flock. And I had only one pregnant ewe left. Hang with me, this will make sense in a minute. And I was out rucking, and I was on lap 2 of 3 near the sheep pen, and that one ewe was fine. I come back around about 9 minutes later, and that ewe was dead. And Nelly had her face, she'd jumped the fence, was in the sheep pen, and had her face in the belly of that ewe. Had shredded her, killed her, snapped her neck, ripped her stomach open, and was eating her entrails. So I dropped my pack, and I went into the fence, into the gate pen, snatched her up by the collar. I hollered for my wife, and I said, "Say goodbye to your dog." And I explained what had happened, and my wife walked into the house, grabbed a .22 rifle, and came back outside. We sat that dog down in front of the compost pile, and I shot it right in between the eyes. And I dug a hole in the compost pile, and put that dog that I loved in the compost. That dog had a job. It was to protect. And it didn't do it. And in fact, it destroyed the very thing that it was supposed to protect, because that dog had taken up to running around with this feral pack of dogs that was killing our lambs, killing our sheep, and taking down calves elsewhere in the neighborhood. And she deserved the bullet that she got. I didn't enjoy it. Hell, I don't even enjoy talking about it. But it had to be done. But it was our fault, because that dog was not appropriately trained. We put too much trust in that dog to protect something that we held dear. And unbeknownst to us, behind our back, it was part of the problem, not part of the solution. Do you have eyes to see? Do you have ears to hear? There's a system that exists here in the United States of America that is becoming inadequate to provide basic requirements of the citizenry. The system is not going to get any better before it gets much worse. It does not matter what we hope will happen. History doesn't always repeat itself, but it often rhymes. We know that our spending is out of control. It was out of control under this presidency. It was out of control under the previous presidency. It was out of control before that. And the presidency before that, it was out of control. And the presidency before that. And it will continue to be out of control regardless of who wins the most prestigious seat in these United States of America in 2024. It's unsustainable. We know that supply chain logistics around the world are jacked up and only getting worse. COVID, Suez Canal, fuel shortages. We know that civil unrest is not going away. If anything, it's growing. I think many people are still just holding their breath for the big one, whatever that may be. All of our indicators are being checked. Problem is they're being checked slowly, not quickly. And that's lulling many people into complacency. If we could just get 4 more years, if we could just take back the Senate, if we could just this, if we could just that. Putting faith in a broken system. I'm here to tell you, as long as you keep faith in that broken system, you cannot bite the hand that feeds you. And if you do bite the hand that feeds you, hey, not your circus. Good job. Now there's a good dog who's been trained well, knows his place, knows his job, and is uncorrupted. Responds to his master's commands. That takes hard work. That was completely unplanned, by the way. Hard work and diligence. If you bite the hand that feeds you, that hand stops feeding you. And in many cases, it drills you between the eyes. Depending on how one might take this analogy of the dog and the disobedience, there's many lessons here. But foundationally, this concept, you cannot bite the hand that feeds you. Which means if the hand that is feeding you is corrupt, you need a different hand to feed you. And I would suggest your own. We're not going to make America great again or take America back from the top down. I've been saying this for years. But we might restore our foundational principles from the grassroots up if we quit subcontracting our well-being to another man. I'm going to do a video on the main channel called The Pathway Forward. I can tell you this, it's going to begin with not being a slave to your debt, not being dependent upon another man, not being dependent upon the system to educate your children, and not subcontracting your well-being to a system that is broken. And so I would encourage you now, there is hope. I live it every day. It can be done. I'm only 3 years off the tit of the system. Happiest 3 years of my life. It can be done. So I would encourage you now to start thinking, and I mean really thinking, make plans, form a vision of what it looks like for you to be independent of the system. And using that vision, start figuring out what can you do now. Now. What can you do now to separate yourself from this fragile, thin veneer of civility that is going to hell in a handbasket anyway? It's coming. I don't know when, but it's coming. May the Father bless you, and may He bless these United States of America. Blue Collar Prez out.